Good afternoon, everybody. This is Tahoe's Fabulous Podcast, episode number 17. This is what will 2021 bring. So the fact that we are having this stream today means that we made 17. It. This is what will 2021 bring. Let me turn that down. The fact that we made it this far, that we're having this stream today means that we made it. We survived 2020, so let's throw those masks out. Let's get back to the movie theaters. Let's get back to watching baseball games in the stadiums. Oh, just kidding. Guess that's not going to be how this year starts. But it's been a while since I've done a stream, so I wanted to kind of talk about 2020 in review, and what's 2021 going to bring. Are we going to have normalcy, quote unquote normalcy? Anytime soon. And I don't know. I might just rant at you guys for 45 minutes today, or I might bring callers onto the show. We'll see. We'll see. And if anybody wants to come on the show, by the way, I put the StreamYard link in the YouTube chat here. I don't know if Sunday afternoon is really the best time to do streams either, but I'm kind of playing around and off and everything today, so yeah, thought it would be a good time. All right, so 2020, what a year, right? I mean, a lot to unpack here. I would say, I'm 30 years old, guys. I'm gonna be 31 in about a week and a half, and there's really been nothing like this year. I mean, everything really changed. Wow, like where to begin, right? Just to review, we almost had World War III last January. Oh my God, these notifications. We almost had World War III last January. Then we had wildfires in California and Australia. Then around March time, that's when we knew Corona was going on in China and everything. Then around March is when we started having lockdowns. Everybody had to mask up and switch over to mostly remote working. I mean, it's been crazy. So what a year it's been. Here we are now, and we have a vaccine. In the works for COVID and everything. And here's to hoping things will go back to normal. But let's talk about that the vaccine, right? So we have a lot of anti-vaxxers. In my time, in the internet and everything, I've come across a lot of people who are like, anti-vaxxers. They believe that vaccines are linked to autism rates. Believe that vaccines make people sicker. There was the gentleman a couple of streams ago who said that he saw 1,000 peer-reviewed articles on the link between vaccines and autism rates. Now, I looked at a couple of those, and here's the thing. I was speaking with a nurse about this, and she brought up a good point that it's really hard to make that conclusion because you get vaccinated at the time, right? Usually at the time in your life when autism would be diagnosed. So it's really hard to draw that conclusion. But my concern is that you have a lot of anti-vaxxers now, and if people aren't going to take a vaccine, what's the point? I mean, like we had in 2018, we saw the first case of measles in the United States since like the 1960s. I mean, there's just absolutely no reason for that. So if people aren't going to take the vaccine, I don't really see us, getting back to normal as fast as we'd like anyway. And hi, Mary, welcome to the show. Is your audio connected?
I'm connected. I didn't hear what your intro was because that audio bug is still being uncooperative, and I forgot to do the update. I can hear you clearly now, though.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I mean, I was just kind of introducing the show, talking about everything, kind of recapping everything that happened in 2020, and what's 2021 gonna bring. And I was kind of talking about how we have a vaccine for COVID-19 now,
Mm-hmm.
but it's hard to say. My concern, if you will, is that there are more. It seems like there were more anti-vaxxers than ever before. I remember the gentleman a couple of streams ago who was showing us. He said he had 1,000 peer-reviewed articles showing that vaccines were linked to autism rates.
From Portugal, yes. I remember him.
Yeah, so I only looked over a couple of those. I mean, obviously, I'm not going to be able to read through all that. That was a bit of a TLDNR, but it's kind of like your mom was saying. That autism develops that stage in life when you would be vaccinated. So it's very, very hard, to make that conclusion one way or another.
Right.
But I think, better off autistic than, having measles or, not stopping this crap anytime soon.
Or just dying from COVID. I mean, if I had a child and they developed autism, I'd prefer that they had autism but were otherwise healthy than if they came down with COVID and got, deathly ill and passed away.
Right. No, I agree. So yeah, no, I mean that's a good point. Like it's not being autistic. I mean, some people function very highly with autism, and it obviously depends where you are on the spectrum. Not that there necessarily is a link between vaccination and autism. I'm just thinking out loud here. In the 90s, anti-vaxxers, that was not a thing. Everybody had vaccines back then. There was no question about it, right? Like we just went to the doctor and we were vaccinated. That's it.
I think there were some people who were against it, but I don't think it was as many as there are now. I think now with social media and readily available internet access, I don't think um that wasn't available in the 90s, and I think people didn't have that platform. So the people who were against vaccinations kind of just more so kept to themselves or had their own like small community, whereas now it's more widespread and readily available for them to communicate.
Right. So I guess that would be why. I mean, granted, we were kids back then, so I guess we wouldn't have really known what adults were saying about vaccines. I just remember, like, everybody in school was vaccinated. Everybody would be like, "Oh yeah, I got my shot yesterday. Yeah, my shoulder hurts or whatever."
I mean, I know in order for us to go to college, we had to get the meningitis vaccine. Otherwise, we weren't admitted into
That's
college.
right. Yeah, and that was I started college in 2008. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I remember that you had to present records of your immunizations to be allowed to attend.
Yep.
That's
So
right.
that was something. I know my mom didn't feel comfortable when I was a toddler doing all three vaccinations at once, so she had them spread out, which they were allowed to do. The doctors like recommended getting three at a time, like per visit, but my mom said no. I think we should just space it out.
Yeah. So it's just I guess this would be an example of how social media has really affected things. Because let's think about this now. If this vaccine is really effective, and we don't know, because there was that one nurse who took the vaccine and then tested positive. What was it? 8 days later. We don't obviously it's a first batch. We don't know the effectiveness rate of it yet. They still have to test that. But let's just say that we can make a vaccine that's effective. What will that do if 25-30% of the population is going to refuse to take that vaccination? Because I get called, I'll get called a simp and a cuck because I was like, yeah, I'm gonna get vaccinated. It's I wear a mask, right? I mean, it's not really a big ask. I don't think it's like, yo, it's the government trying to control you. It's not a gold star on your jacket. It's a mask. It's really a minor inconvenience. So, but if you, what do you think if we have 20-30% of the population who won't get vaccinated? That's going to be problematic, right?
You said 20% of the population is going to be vaccinated. Is that what you said?
No, I'm saying if 20-30% of the population, let's say if we can develop a vaccine that is in fact effective, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like it has like a 90% effectiveness rate at stopping a person from contracting COVID-19, but 20-30% of the population are anti-vaxxers and willfully won't get vaccinated. What effect is that going to have?
I mean, that's definitely going to impede things. I don't think that we're going to see the end of the virus as quickly as we'd hoped. But then again, I also feel like there are anti-vaxxers who believe in not getting their children vaccinated because they think there's a link to autism, who might, be afraid of COVID and, be a little hypocritical and actually want to get the vaccine. Because think about it. With COVID, it poses a real risk versus if you think of like MMR, measles, mumps, rubella, doesn't really pose much of a risk because at least I would think maybe 80 to 90% of the population is vaccinated versus with COVID, there's a much lower rate of that. So there's a higher chance of infection. So maybe the people who are, anti-vaccinations for MMR or meningitis, say, might actually support the COVID-19 vaccine.
Right. Just the amount of when I say that, hey, yeah, I'll get the vaccine when it comes out. The amount of backlash that I get for that. It's not that uncommon. So I from what I've seen anyway, it does seem like there's going to be a significant amount of people who are not for this.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know what impact that's going to have, in terms, because we all just want this shit to be over with, right?
Yeah.
Like we all just want to go back to normal, be able to go to public venues, spend time out with friends, family, and not have to do this lockdown bullshit anymore. So it's like, it's almost like if you're one of those people, it's really like you got to ask yourself what's worse, like a risk that's not even really correlated, that's not even proven to be correlated, um, you know, and or just us having to live like this, for the rest of forever.
Right. Well, I don't think this is going to be a forever thing. I think this is going to eventually die out. I don't think it's going to be something that, this time next year we'll be talking about, to be honest. I really think by spring, summer of 2021, we won't have to worry about it. I don't think it's going to be as much of a risk.
It's possible. Amir says, "Hi guys, sup, buddy boyo."
How's it going?
Um, yeah, I don't know. I mean, some people think, and we were watching that video last night that our friend was showing us, right? That this is all part of a great reset. That this is going to be an excuse to kind of change the way we live, and like the masks are just the start of it. But I'm just kind of hoping that, like, I mean, am I coping here? That this, like, if they're saying that this vaccine should be ready to the general public by April. I mean, if everybody, just jumps on board and it has a good success rate, and we do it, like, could we be back to normal by the summer?
I personally believe that we'll be back to near normal by the summer. I don't think we're ever going to have an exact normal again. I think there's always going to be, like adjustments that we're not going to go back to what we were pre-COVID. But I do think that this will start to die down by the summer, especially with healthcare workers getting vaccinated now. And then they're going to implement the shots in nursing homes for the elderly, and the workers in the nursing home. And it's just going to, slowly trickle down to then eventually the general population, which I don't understand either. I mean, I'm not complaining per se, but why is it that we were deemed essential workers during the pandemic and both of us had to work and continue to do so, but yet we're not going to be, at the top of any list to get vaccinated. We're going to get vaccinated when it's available to the general public.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of seems a little unfair, right? For the people who were, they were good enough to be on the front line and, and be exposed to COVID, and didn't even have PPE in the beginning. They still have to wait for the vaccine. That's kind of, that doesn't really seem fair. I do understand the need for, healthcare workers, for people who work in a hospital around,
Yes.
Where there's going to be a definitely higher rate of exposure.
Yes.
But I mean, for the cashiers, at whatever grocery store or big box store, I mean, they're facing a lot of people too.
Exactly. Especially the past holiday season. I mean, you and I went to Walmart together. We've gone to Target together. We've seen how packed those stores are getting. They weren't limiting really the number of people in there. I mean, the lines were incredibly long, and those workers aren't going to get preferential treatment when it comes to getting the vaccine, and they've been exposed from onset.
Right. So it is kind of unfair. And what are we doing for those people? I mean, they're not even going to send everybody, to the $2,000 stimulus check, as we found out last night. It did get voted down. So, I mean,
Thanks,
that's
Mitch McConnell.
Yeah, I mean, and Pelosi had her hand in that too.
Of
But
course.
it's just ridiculous. It's like, you don't want people to be able to work. You don't want. I mean, a lot of businesses have reopened up, but like, obviously those businesses aren't making as much money since people don't want to come out as much. Since some governments are telling people they can't go out. So it's like that's actually another topic I think we should go into is these stimulus checks. I still did not get my first stimulus check, the $1,200 one.
And you won't be getting it because they said that the checks need to be cut before January 15th. I think it has to do with the end of the fiscal cycle. So you probably won't be getting it.
But then I believe there's that way the tax, if you didn't get it, then supposedly you can get it as a tax credit.
Yes.
So actually, if you have that, do you still have that link? I kind of want to post that I'll post that into the chat just so everybody can see it. For anybody who didn't get their stimulus check, apparently you will be able to claim that as a tax credit and receive it on your tax refund.
Yeah, just give me a second. I'm sure I have it.
Yeah, no worries. But yeah, so kind of not good. What I thought was kind of funny was that Mitch McConnell's home was vandalized the next day. I mean, I don't support that kind of thing. It's just like, come on, man. Like, it's not coming out of your paycheck. Like, you're telling people they can't go to work, and now they're broke. They can't pay their rent. Like, come on, man. What are we doing? I found the
right. I mean, and not to sound ungrateful by any means, but people who are really struggling right now, $2,000 isn't going to really do much, and 600 certainly isn't going to do much. People who have been out of work, for example, small business owners that weren't deemed essential. I mean, they weren't able to pay their mortgage. They weren't able to probably pay the rent on the building. I mean, they had no source of income. They were collecting unemployment, but that runs out too. So I mean, for those people, like $600 is a real slap in the face, especially people who've been paying into, you know, the taxes for years and years. I mean, you think about it and they're like, "Oh, we're giving you $600." It's like, "Well, no, you take that out of my paycheck." So, in actuality, it's still my money.
Right. I mean, everybody paid taxes. They should be entitled to that money, and $600 isn't shit. I mean, here in New York, that's not even 1 month of rent. Like, come
No.
on. Like, what's that going to do? You're right. I mean, $2,000 is it's that at least pays somebody's rent for the month. But I mean, that's still in the grand scheme of things. That still isn't even really that much. That's like, what are you going to spend that money on? That's so all fired, goddamn important
Right.
that you can't do this. Like, our infrastructure is already crap. It kind of makes me think it's just gonna, it just ends up in politicians' pockets.
Right.
So
And
I
look
don't know.
at how much they make with no term limit, I mean, if I had that opportunity, I would never leave, the Senate or the House of Representatives either.
Yeah, I mean, you have how long has McConnell been in office? It's been over 30 years, right?
I believe so. I mean, look at
So
Pelosi. What is she going on, like 40?
Pelosi is going on like 40. Yeah, it's just
Yeah,
like I swear that they just perpetuate this stuff. Like they like the Democrats blame the Republicans blame the Democrats, and it's all an excuse just to not do anything that actually benefits the people.
absolutely. McConnell's been in office for 35 years. He assumed office in 85.
So yeah, it's like but he's gonna say how oh it's the Democrats and Pelosi is gonna be like, see, Mitch McConnell won't pass this. It passed in the House and Mary dropped off. Um, he's gonna say, oh, she's gonna say, oh, see, it passed in the House. It's the Senate blocking it. They're not the ones who are gonna do it. So it's just gonna be a perpetual, shouting match and pissing contest, and it doesn't get done, and it's really not fair because the ones who suffer are us. I really hope that we right I mean we have a new president elect and new vice president elect taking office in 17 days from now, but like let's not kid ourselves. It's not going to change anything. It's not really going to cause any difference. Meet what's that saying in that song by the Who, meet the new boss same as the old boss. Can you hear me? Yeah, I think you're
Sorry, it's misbehaving on my end again, and I'm not hearing you clearly.
all right. Well, I'll keep going, and hopefully you can hear. But anyway, I wanted I wanted our friend to come. I wanted our friend Dan to come on the show because he was talking about a pretty scary bill that's actually in the New York State Assembly right now. But I'm not sure if I can do it justice. So hopefully, he says if he makes it home on time, he'll come on the show and talk about that.
I just heard talk about that at the end. So what are we talking about?
The bill in the New York State Assembly.
Oh, the bill. Is he gonna come on or is he not available?
Well, he was saying if he makes it home in time, then he'll come on the show
Okay.
and talk about it. So we'll
Alright.
see. We'll see.
Okay.
But
Did you
well,
have a chance to read it? Because I didn't.
I did, and it is really scary. It's really here. Let me pull this up. Actually, he can go into it. I'm gonna tackle it now, and if he makes it onto the show later, um, maybe he can. But basically, what it is New York State Assembly Bill A416.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, what it is that if you are deemed, it's a bill to allow the detention of people who are deemed a quote unquote public health risk.
Mm-hmm.
So, meaning if you, I guess, were not vaccinated or not wearing a mask or had tested positive for a certain um, a certain disease within a certain amount of time and you were out in public, you could actually be arrested under this bill, it looks like.
See, the thing I don't understand about that is how are they going to determine that you are a health risk? Yes, I understand if you're not wearing a mask, okay. But other than that, how are they going to figure that out? Like, that's at the discretion of what, the police?
I'm not sure. I mean, I read the bill and it was very, very vague, which is not good. The more vague bills are, um, the more they're open for interpretation, which in my mind anyway means the more open to abuse of power.
Exactly. Yep.
So that was really, really scary, and and I would love to have time for Dan to come on the show and really talk about that, because that's scary.
And this is only in New York State, so this isn't in any other states currently. This is just New York.
Yeah, it's in New York. Well, it's in the New York State Assembly right now. But the thing is, right, if New York were to pass something like that, I'm sure other states would follow in suit, especially the blue states.
I just don't see the purpose behind it. Are we looking to just lock people up? But
Well,
I don't see how, like, how are we benefiting from this?
well, if some of these theories, such as a Great Reset, are true, right? The
Mm-hmm.
best way I would assume passing something like that would be a really good way to drive compliance. If you have people who don't want to wear masks, you make it illegal. You make it legal to lock them up. I mean, you'd really be able to accelerate something like that. I do see it. I'm not blind to it. I do see it. It just, I mean, some of that stuff seems really outlandish, but something like that, like as soon as I saw it, and this is a real bill, by the way. I can post a link to it in the YouTube chat. This is an actual bill that's in the assembly right now. So hold on, let me see here if I can pull it up. But I would like Dan to go into detail on that one, since he's the one who kind of brought it to us. I don't know. Is anybody else are any other states looking to do things like that? I wonder.
I'd be curious to see. I mean, I'm assuming New Jersey would pretty much follow suit.
Okay. Well, here I found the bill here. Relates to it says Assembly Bill A416, 2021 to 2022 legislative session. Relates to removal of cases, contracts, and carriers of communicable diseases who are potentially dangerous to public health. It literally says removal of. Yeah, I'm gonna post a link to it in the YouTube chat here for anyone who wants to check that out. But yeah, that essentially looks like that's what they're saying to do. So everybody really needs to oppose this. I mean, this is insane. I don't know how. Like, I understand the need to keep the public safe, but this is just a blatant. This is a blatant impingement on people's rights.
You know what frustrates me, I think, the most out of this whole thing is when you see people who are blatantly disregarding the rules of practicing social distancing and wearing masks. I saw one of my friends had posted about a nightclub in New York City where there were 300 plus people on New Year's Eve. To me,
Yeah.
there should be stricter laws that, like, that business is getting shut down and they're getting their liquor license revoked.
Yeah, I mean it's just such like a catch-22 because I see how that's good. That is gonna spread COVID-19. Like without beyond a doubt, that's gonna spread COVID-19.
Mm-hmm.
On the other hand, you shut it down, you are gonna bankrupt that business and affect those people and their livelihood. So I see that too. So I think people need to just be voluntarily respond. Like I get it. It's a lot of like, y'all, it's my God given right. You can't tell me what to do. And I get that. But it's like, okay, can we all just, yeah. I mean, this would be done. Think about it. This could all be done and over with if everybody would agree to stay inside for 2 weeks
Right.
because the virus only has a incubation period of 14 days, then it dies
Right.
if it doesn't get a new host. So if everybody could stay inside for 2 weeks, we just voluntarily, right? Everybody, we send everybody a stimulus check. We will recomp you for all the time, out. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And we do it by the person's average income, right? We look at their 2020 or their 2019 tax return, and whatever their average weekly income is, we give them that 2 times.
Yep.
We recomp them that, okay? Then the people stay inside for 2 weeks. Then it's over. We get to go back to normal. What would really be so bad? I mean, we've been doing this for almost a full year now. I think everybody's tired of it. How is that a bad plan? Wouldn't it be better to do this for
Right.
2 weeks? It's done and over with, and then we can all go back to normal. That's my 2 cents on it.
Exactly. But good luck getting people to do that.
Otherwise, we just go round and round in circles, and we're not getting anywhere. And we really want 2021 to bring back some type of normalcy. I don't think Biden and Harris taking office, I don't think that really changes all that much either, to be honest. Everybody's like, oh, it's over. The Democrats won. And when Trump won, people were like, it's over. The Republican won. Well, guess what? We're all still here. We lived through what? We've pretty much seen parties change what? Like every 8 years. I mean, in our lifetime, we've only had two one-term presidents, Bush Senior and Trump. We had Clinton for 8 years, then we had Bush for 8 years. We had Obama for 8 years, and then we had Trump. And guess what? We survived every time. We survived Republicans. We survived Democrats. It's not really. I don't really think it changes all that much. I would have, I don't love, I don't love Democrats. I certainly don't like Joe Biden or Kamala, but I don't really think it's not really going to change all that much.
I mean, the bottom line is politicians don't care about us. You know what I mean? Like, at the end of the day, whether you're a Democrat or a Republican, you don't care about the people. You go into office because you are looking to enact some type of change that is beneficial to you.
To you, not to the people, to you and your rich buddies.
I mean, even if they're not rich and they somehow get into it, without having affluence, the end goal is to make money. But
Right.
let's
Well,
not kid ourselves. I mean, if you pull up Mitch McConnell's net worth, man's worth $22 million.
right. And what was Nancy Pelosi worth before she took office?
Probably not a whole hell of a lot.
And and I think her net worth is up there too. It's something like 35 million, or I'll look it up right now just so we can get the number. But it wasn't very high. And a reminder that a congressperson makes I believe $175,000 a year. A senator makes a similar salary. It's like it's like a very nice salary, but not we're not talking millionaire salaries. So it's like, how did they get all that money? So
They're assuming, based on celebritynetworth.com, which again, I don't know how credible a source that is, they're assuming that her net worth is $120 million.
That's what I'm seeing here too. Did you find that on Celebrity Net Worth?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I'm seeing too. So it's like, how did you make $120 million on a salary of $175,000 a year? I mean, I think the
Exactly.
It's when you legislate for people who sign you fat checks. That's how you do it.
Yep.
So it's like I really do think that all the people who say politics or cope, I think they're right, to be honest. In a way, politics really is just cope. Like it doesn't really change our lives all that much, to be honest.
No.
I'm I did vote, okay? Like but for the people who say like who attack the people for not voting. I'm like, you know what? That is also their right not to vote. If they don't want to, I didn't vote in 2008. I'm just gonna, come on the record and say that I did not care for McCain or Obama, so I voted for neither.
I didn't vote in 2012, but that's because I didn't have an absentee ballot submitted in time.
Right, because you were living in a different place then, so
Yeah.
yeah. But yeah. So in terms of getting back on track here, in terms of what 2021 will bring, I think this is kind of I just wonder after all the crap that 2020 brought, if this will be the year where people start to realize that politics at its core is just cope, and that none of these people care about us either way, Republicans or Democrats. They both just we've been through transfers of power in our lifetime, and it's always the same deal every time. Nothing really gets better for the people in the middle.
Right. I don't think so, because I think Democrats are under this belief that Trump is Satan, and that anything will be an improvement from Trump.
Oh yeah,
Such a witch hunt. I'm not saying that the man is an upstanding citizen or even a good person, but I don't think that I think there was such an agenda and a push to demonize him that.
Oh, there definitely was more so than I would say more so than any other president. I mean, it was like the day he took office, it was already starting. But yeah,
I mean, people were crying. Like it was a little much in my opinion.
right. And they still, I mean, it's not like Trump, didn't do good things. I mean, I think everybody is in favor of that bill that made animal cruelty a felony and up to 7 years in prison. And hey, that got done on his watch, and everybody pretty much agreed on that one unanimously. And it was like, why wasn't that done, decades ago?
Right.
So
I mean, plus, let's not forget, we did get a stimulus check from him too. Have we gotten anything from any other president? Like,
right. And and again, that was all branches of government did approve that. And I know Trump did want to eliminate payroll tax for the last quarter of 2020, which he did on executive order, but nobody really saw any benefit on that because most employers withheld those taxes anyway because they knew that the Senate wasn't going to go for it, and then come tax time in April, that would cause some major complications. So nothing came of that.
right.
But I think that Trump did that to say, hey, look, guys, I'm trying, hey, look, guys, I've tried to help, but, the Democrats aren't letting me do it. And,
right.
but so I think I don't think he really thought that anything would come of that. I think he kind of knew that would happen, but it would make him look good to push for. I don't know. I could be wrong.
But no matter what he does, I think the media with their slant is just going to criticize him for it.
They're going to make it look bad either way. The way that they made Obama look good, no matter what he did. I mean, let's not forget that he sent the country of Libya back, more than 100 years. I mean, they were way better off with Gaddafi than what they have now.
Right.
And it's like, it was like, what business did we have going there? It's the same thing for what business did we have going to Iraq? Right. And for some reason, Obama just had it out for Gaddafi and was like, "This is a big problem. We gotta take care of it." So, But nobody talks about how that was a disaster.
Or the strict immigration policies that Obama enacted, and then they're blaming Trump, saying that Trump is, separating families and
Yeah, when he did nothing different.
right.
It's nothing. I don't agree with it. I don't think obviously it is wrong to separate families, but this has been going on since the Clinton years.
Yeah,
This
but I
isn't
mean,
a Trump thing.
right, but if you look, I mean, Obama had some of the strictest immigration policies going. Like that's what I think is ironic that the Democrats
Obama
choose to
deported more
ignore.
people. Obama deported more people than Trump could have ever dreamed of deporting.
Right.
That's not even like Obama's like those are rookie numbers, kid. You gotta pump those numbers up.
Yeah, pretty much. But
So
but Democrats choose to ignore that.
right. So and I wonder. I already wonder, like the pandering, already beginning here, right? We already see that, like, okay, like, Kamala Harris, great, first black woman to hold that office, but like it's crazy how, like, this is like already we saw it was like literally not even a day later, and they already had like a Kamala Harris Powerpuff Girl or something.
Right.
Like this is gonna be. It's like you can already tell that like it's just gonna like like no matter what they do, it's just gonna be praised as like as like godlike people, her and Biden.
Right.
And I mean, like, not that the accomplishment isn't a good thing. It is.
And let's address the elephant in the room with Biden, the fact that he's outwardly spoken out against integration. I mean, he didn't want his kids going to school with black kids, and like now suddenly you have a black vice president. Like, how the tables have turned.
Right, and it's public knowledge that he said that too.
Right,
like
it's on the record. Yeah.
But all of a sudden, he comes out, oh, I didn't mean it, guys. I've changed my ways since then.
Yeah. Okay.
Sure.
Whatever you say. Yeah.
But but it's amazing that that he can get away with that. It's wild. But you know what? That's actually brings me to a good point for something. For what changes will 2021 bring? Mm-hmm. Is Biden going to be, let's say, ejected from office this year? What do you think?
Do I think he's going to meet an untimely death? Probably, yeah.
Well, all right. So today is it's January 3rd, 2021. It's 2:13 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Let's see how well this ages. What is your prediction? When will we have President Harris? Let's take bets now. Closest without going over. When will we have President Harris?
I think we'll have President Harris in 2022.
Yeah, you think Biden toughs it out for a year?
I do.
You're sure? He's quite old, and there's a lot of stairs in the White House.
Yes, I think that he'll make it a year. And then I think, he'll either step down or meet some untimely death, and then it'll be President Harris.
Because there's also the 25th Amendment that the Democrats can invoke to remove Biden too. Let's not forget that.
This is true.
So I don't know. I'm gonna say, all right, if we're doing closest without going over here, I'm going to say, let's say October of 2021. I think it'll be towards the end of the year. And that's when he will no longer be in office anymore. But we already think that this is going to happen. I remember that time when the guy that I knew on Facebook asked the age of the president, and Siri brought up how old Kamala is.
Yes.
Do you remember that? And then it changed.
Yes.
That was really, really eerie too. So it's almost like you almost don't want to believe any of this crazy conspiracy stuff, but sometimes like the evidence just smacks you right in the face.
I do think that some of it is pre-planned. I mean, even with this virus, we knew about it in China. You know what I mean? And we didn't shut our borders and we didn't prevent any type of, international travel. So to me, I'm like, I don't know. Everything just seemed a little too convenient. And if you notice, 2020 was the year that minimum wage was expected to go up, and there were a lot of changes that were uh, expected to be enacted. I mean, if you look at something as small as McDonald's has eliminated positions because now they have screens that people could order their food from rather than having to talk to a cashier. You know,
Automation is here, yeah.
yeah. So I
Automation is
think
here.
I think that was part of the plan as well. I mean, I have noticed that those are not being put to use right now because it's considered a risk with COVID. But I do think that like the end goal is to eliminate some of the population, especially people who aren't particularly um, seen as productive members of society. So, for example, if you have someone who works at a mini mart, or you have someone who works at like a hardware store or something, it's like, well, do we really consider them essential? Well, they're not saving lives. They're not inventing new technology. So what's the purpose of having them around? Like, I think that deep down there is some of that in our society as well, with the powers that be.
Yeah, and we've got to ask ourselves too, is the planet at carrying capacity, or is it just a small number of people who want, all the resources for themselves? Because you saw that video last night about the Great Reset and how there were people like there's billboards for this in Europe. And I would like, if anybody from Europe, happens to be watching this to come on the show and tell us, what you're seeing. But remember, it was like you'll own nothing and you'll be happy.
Right.
So it's kind of like is it just a small number of people who want all the resources for themselves, or is there really not enough? Are we really at that point where where we have to fight each other for toilet paper? There's just not enough resources to go around.
Right.
I don't know. Because they were saying that someone like Jeff Bezos could afford to pay every single one of his employees six figures, and he would still be the richest man in the world.
Yep.
So is it just people like him and their insane greed, or is it or is there just not enough to go around?
I think it's a direct result of greed. I don't think it's a matter of not enough to go around.
Yeah. So, but then it becomes. I also see the other side of the coin. I mean, yeah, people should be allowed to use their talents to become rich. I wouldn't begrudge somebody that. Like,
Right.
if you have a talent or you invent something, revolutionary, you should reap the benefits of it. Because then,
Right.
if you don't have that, we have the opposite. You have brain drain, where nobody really wants to innovate because they know that they're not going to, see a reward for it. So I think we've really
But
got to,
even with that,
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, even with that, I mean, if you look at it, perfect example, Steve Jobs and Steve, what was it,
Wozniak, yeah.
Wozniak. I mean, Steve Jobs took all the credit and ran with it, and it was like, later, sucker. You know what I mean? Like, there are people who invent things, and then there are people that they surround themselves with who aren't, don't have the best intentions, aren't the best of people, and steal their ideas.
Right. Well,
for every idea, how many have been stolen?
Right, and it's a known thing that Steve Jobs was a real jerk. I mean, he didn't even Steve Jobs. They credit Apple with inventing the graphical user interface.
Mm-hmm.
Steve Jobs didn't actually invent the graphical user interface. He apparently was at a trade show from Xerox, and Steve Jobs kind of took it for his own and took credit for it. But yeah, I know there are people who become rich off of the coattails of others. That certainly does happen, of course. And I mean, there's plenty of people who steal somebody's idea and run with it, and they're the ones who get rich.
Yep.
But I think that's just kind of how a free market works. I guess it's better than the alternative of communism, where everybody's just poor.
Right.
And there's not enough for everybody. So I'm just hoping, and I know this is probably like a big hope, that at some point people just see through this bullshit and we can come up with some type of political system that meets in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
Where it's like, okay, like we get it, like Jeff Bezos, you're rich. How about, you have $20 billion and, the rest of that funds some type of, public thing. I don't know. And I don't have the answers. If I did, I'd run for office myself. It's just become so apparent, with everything happening. I don't know how somebody who's like a diehard, Democrat on the left can really look at this party and be like, yeah, this will work. And then the people, who are, diehard right wing, Reaganomics, trickle down economics, be like, oh yeah, that definitely works. It doesn't work. None of it works. We need a new system. That's just what it boils down to. None of it. We've tried all of it. None of it fucking works.
Right.
So, and then what's that saying? The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result.
Exactly.
So clearly we got to find something, something different that I guess meets. And I've even had friends on both sides of the aisle who've said something like that. They're like, yeah, like we gotta find something that's, I guess, a little more moderate.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess nobody wants to concede anything. Nobody wants to back down. Nobody wants to negotiate. Everybody wants to be everybody wants to have a dick measuring contest.
Yep.
And it ends up with the people getting screwed. But so in terms, that's what I hope 2021 will bring is, people becoming wiser to that, and I guess conceding a little more. Like if you're a diehard, right winger, that you go a little bit more towards the center, and if you're a diehard, left wing communist, that you move a little bit more towards the center, and realize that screws over some people too. I mean, the world's not perfect. Somebody's always going to get screwed at some point.
Mm-hmm.
So all we can really do is try to make a system that I guess benefits the greatest many.
Right.
So I guess that's on on the corona and on the politics. In terms of financially, I guess I was looking on Discord the other day and they were saying that like now is the time to sell crypto. It's not the time to buy and everything. That's something I'd kind of like to learn a little bit about this year, because I slept on it years ago. I think, how long has like Bitcoin and cryptocurrency been around? Since like the early 2010s.
I'm not sure if it's been around that long. I personally know I've heard of it and knew about it since like 2017.
Yeah, I was hearing about it in like 2012. I think it's been it's been around for a while.
I know people who have made money off of it, but I don't really understand it. I mean, to me, I kind of feel the same way about the stock market. Like, it's something that I don't really understand. So to me, I'm like, do I really want to invest money in this?
Same. But I'm saying, like, our failure to understand it, I wonder if that's just us not adapting to the times. Because to me, it sounds like, and I haven't really delved deep into it, but it sounds like it works similarly to the way the stock market does, right? Like you can purchase it when it's at a certain value, and of course the goal is to dump it when it's at its highest value. I mean, as you would stocks. I just don't really understand the factors that impact its values. Not that I really understand, I understand like with stocks, like certain things like a global pandemic, and when people think that somebody's not going to buy something, obviously the stock drops with the confidence in that product.
Yes.
I kind of understand, how that works. But with the cryptocurrencies, I don't really understand what impacts that, because it seems like it's just like a alternative to stocks.
Mm-hmm.
Like maybe when stocks, because like in the early 2010s, stocks weren't really doing that well, right? I'm trying to remember.
No, I don't believe they were, because remember we had the housing market crash, and then the economy, we were in a recession, and we were just like slowly trying to get our footing.
Yeah, so was it like, hey, Bitcoin's an alternative to this. Buy in now while it's low, and it's going to go up it'll be up in 10 years, which is where we're at now.
Mm-hmm. Possibly, yeah.
But I can't deny the growing popularity of those cryptocurrencies.
Mm-hmm.
So it kind of seems like that might be where the future is heading. Maybe that will. I don't think we're going to see it soon, but maybe that will like replace the stock market.
Mm-hmm.
Like when people.
I mean, I just pulled up Bitcoin right now, and it says one Bitcoin equals $32,664 US.
Wow, so that's like a very, if that were a stock, right? If that were a share in a company, that would be a pretty good one. Like like a share, like top companies like Google, which are like $650 a share. I mean, think about like somebody at some point invested in Google when they went public. It was a nickel a share. I mean, if they bought 1,000 shares, like imagine how much money they'd have.
Right. Exactly.
So, but I see the potential there. I guess it's something I should educate myself more on.
Yeah, I mean, especially with that kind of return in profit, yeah.
But
It was invented in 2008, apparently. A cryptocurrency invented in 2008 by an unknown person or group of people using the name Satoshi Nakamoto, and started in 2009 when its implementation was released as an open source software.
Yeah, but it was kind of like because you could use, and I do remember when Bitcoin came out that you could use Bitcoin to buy things. So it does actually have a monetary value to it.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess it was supposed to be like used as like a different type of currency.
I guess so.
But I guess that's kind of like what a stock is, right? I mean, a stock has a monetary value too. I could be like, hey, I own 2 shares of Google. I can sell them to you for $1,300.
Right.
I mean, not that my 2 shares grant me much executive power, but hey, if I own, 51% of the shares in Google, well, now I can make some decisions.
Well, that's what I was going to say for comparison purposes. Like with stocks, you own a portion of the company. You're buying into a portion of the company. With Bitcoin, what are you buying into? That's what I don't understand.
I guess it's just like you own a Bitcoin, which I guess is its own unit of currency. It's like, I guess it's like if I own like international currency and it has like a certain value. I mean, you could make money that way too, right? Since exchange rates vary.
Right, that's true. But I mean, there's no international currency that I know of that equates to $33,000 like Bitcoin currently does.
Right. So yeah, so I guess that's just something I'm gonna have to educate myself on this year, because I really don't know much about it. But I guess I kind of see that I guess that's a change that 2021 is bringing, is that crypto trading is becoming really, really popular. And I know people who've made
today it's
pretty
actually
decent money
at
off
the
of that.
highest today it's actually at the highest it's ever been.
Well, that's why I was seeing on Discord people were saying it's time to sell, it's time to sell. So I guess that would be why. Because I guess like any other market, it's an ebb and flow. Like it's gonna eventually reach its peak and then burst and then go way down. So I guess
Right.
that's why people want to sell right now.
Mm-hmm.
So you gotta catch the wave at the right time, I guess.
Gotta ride the wave.
Yep. Um, but yeah, I don't really have too many other topics to go into today. I just wanted to have a stream kind of recap the year. Here's hoping that 2020 I will say was not the worst year for me anyway. It was not the worst year I ever had. It was just entirely the weirdest.
Yeah, it was definitely a different experience.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like, and I mean, I was able to work from home a decent amount before this all even started, but just like the isolation, when this all started, because I remember you and me were living together for like almost 3 months when this started, and it just felt weird. It just felt really weird not seeing people face to face. It was like surreal.
Yes.
And
There was a lot of Zoom meetings and you know online chatting rather than actually seeing people face to face. I mean, we still did see people. It just wasn't as often and as many. It was the people that we were seeing pre-lockdown were the same people that we continued to see.
right, but it was way less often. It wasn't like it was usually planned out. And it wasn't like, hey, you guys want to like go to the movies Friday night or
Well, we
something like that.
couldn't. There was no
Well,
movie.
right. There was no movies to go to, so
Yeah.
yeah, it was a really really bizarre year. I know a lot of people who I've spoken to have said the same. It wasn't necessarily the worst. It was by far had the most extreme changes, and I really think it took its toll on everybody. I don't think anybody, even though you and I were working the whole time, obviously like nurses and healthcare workers. I mean, they're shot now. I mean, I can only imagine. But like in a way, it just took its toll on everybody. So here's hoping that 2021 will bring about some good change that will politics wise we'll be able to meet some middle ground somewhere and focus on some real solutions.
Yep. That would be nice.
So I think I'm going to leave it at that. Do you have any final thoughts?
No, I agree with you. We hope for a better year with health and hopefully some more knowledge and maybe a better presidency. Well, we'll see.
Yeah, I mean only time will tell, and we're only 3 days into the new year. But let's see what happens, and remember, my bet is October. You said yours is 2022. So we shall see. Maybe neither of us will be right, but who knows what'll happen.
He
But
did say he plans to be a one-term president. So
yeah, well, he's what 78 now, so that would make him 82 by the time he leaves office. So
yeah,
I could understand, not I could understand if somehow he survives the let's just call them hazards, not wanting to run again at the ripe old age of 82. But
exactly.
only time will tell. All right. Well, thanks to everybody who watched. We didn't have a big audience today. Like I said, I got to play around with the timing and everything. But yeah, here's hoping to a happy and healthy 2021 for everybody. Take care, everyone.